Hello, and welcome to The Back Room, where we talk about politics across the country, around the globe, and right here in the Bronx. I'm your host, Lisa Schifrin. David Eisenbach is out tonight, so we have a fabulous guest who recently ran for city comptroller named Peter Kefalas. Peter.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. Appreciate it. Nice to be here.
Great to see you.
Likewise.
Unfortunately for our listeners, you are a conservative just like me, so they're going to get double the conservatism and no liberalism tonight.
Double common sense.
Double common sense. So I thought we'd start with the Iran war, which started 11 days ago when President Trump finally went after the government of the Iranian Republic with effective missile strikes that took out the ruling Ayatollah and have destroyed Iran's navy, among other things. According to a Rasmussen poll, 52% of the country is in favor of this. That's a slim margin, but it's better than the opposite. You want a little more support for your war than that. A significant minority of people seem to think that Israel led the United States into this war, but President Trump has clearly denied that, which I find a great relief. Gas prices are up, which works against the administration, though the president has promised they'll be down very shortly. He says the whole war will be over in 4 or 5 weeks. He's looking for unconditional surrender, and he wants to have a say in appointing the next supreme leader. He hasn't come out and said regime change yet, but I think that's what he thinks. But it better not to say it. A few days ago, the mullahs appointed Ayatollah Khamenei's son the next leader. But there's a little mystery attached to this. He says the whole war, nobody has seen him since the bombing that took his father out. A source I trust says he's in a hospital with severe wounds to his legs and abdomen, and he may not be conscious. We'll see. In any case, Trump will not tolerate him as the next leader. Trump has said that. The people of Iran have to act. We'll see what they do. Meanwhile, the media and the Democrats are rooting for American failure in this war, which is astounding. So, Peter, what do you think should happen? What do you think will happen?
Well, I think the last part, what you said, unfortunately, the media and some people who have Trump derangement syndrome are rooting for the failure of the president of the country because they don't like the particular president. I couldn't stand Obama or Biden, but I never rooted for them to fail because that would mean us collectively as a country.
I know,
fail.
it's outrageous. It's amazing.
It's terrible. What I think about the gas prices, because I did have to get gas on the way up here. I remember not too long ago, it was for the 93 at least, by my house, it was like $3.79, went back up to $4.09, where it's
4.09,
where it's been for a while, for the 93. And today I was, I think, $4.79.
So, $4.79, really?
Yeah.
In the Bronx,
in Queens.
It's in the mid threes. It's like $3.69 or $3.79.
I should probably put the flex fuel in. It'd be a little better with the ethanol, support Iowa, but I try to switch it up. But I think anytime we've seen a conflict, especially where there's an oil-producing area or nation in the world, prices are going to go up. I do believe the price is going to go down. Anytime we've had a Middle East conflict in particular, always the prices are going to spike up. But we see it's a temporary situation. It'll go down. And I believe with what's happened recently in Venezuela, once we get the whole Strait of Hormuz under control, I'm sure everything will be fine. And I just read the other day that London is not insuring that anymore. Trump has
Trump is insuring it.
Yes.
And it's unclear whether he said this or not, but he appears to be willing to guarantee passage to oil ships in the Straits of Hormuz, even if the Iranians try to cut off the straits. So that's interesting.
Well, it's interesting. And I don't think the president would do that if he wasn't confident the military is going to have enough muscle there to take the Iranians. Remember, we sank all their ships. I think what they have left now are the small fast boats, which, like mosquitoes, if you will. We can shoot those, bomb those. Unfortunately, we did have, I heard on the radio, about 140 service people that were hurt. I think 108 are back on the job, 8 seriously wounded, and obviously we had 7 that were killed, unfortunately, recently, which is terrible. But I think overall, if you see that we've decimated their Air Force, we've decimated their communication, we've decimated the Republican Guard, we've killed their first, second, third string.
Right, and we've taken no incoming. There have been some bullets shot at embassies and consulates.
In the region, yes.
Yeah, in the region. So I think we're doing pretty well. But
doing well.
This question of getting to regime change, I mean, there are 2 impediments. One is that the mullahs want no part of it, and they still have their chairs. Whether they have real power or not is unclear. But the IRGC, the Iranian Republican Guard, they do have power. They are armed, and they're pretty brutal. And there are a couple of 100,000 of them. So it's a little unclear how you neutralize them so that the Iranian people can have their say.
Well, it's true what you said, but very interesting, because this is a war, if you will, where, yes, the U.S. and Israel and other actors in the area other allies are, playing defense and assaulting them, but there is no, armed rebellion, if you will. Yes, we're seeing the college kids and the men and women and the children go out, and unfortunately many of them were slaughtered and imprisoned and raped and tortured.
30,000.
Horrible regime. So, but I think going back to your question is, I think what Trump is not going to tolerate is an Islamic state that is a state sponsor of terrorism, with their proxies throughout the world that, remember, going back to Carter, as we were speaking off camera, they've killed how many Americans? We know that they've been responsible for the roadside bombs in the war on terror.
Thousands of terror incidents that they either committed or
funded.
backed.
Yeah, and we've seen, unfortunately, where Jimmy Carter couldn't handle them. Remember, when Ronald Reagan took office that day, well, guess what? They were released, the American hostages. Then we saw appeasement with Obama flying pallets of cash in multiple denominations, currencies. Then we saw Joe Biden.
And making a deal that allowed them to get
keep the
nuclear
bombs.
weapons.
Which, look, I don't care what country you are. And we saw this the other day where the president during the State of the Union was, the first job of government is to protect its citizens. And if you have a country, Iran or any other country, that says death to America for the last 47, 50 years almost, you're going to come to a point where, and honestly, we've been a stupid country and we've been a tolerant country to allow these crazy maniacs to say death to America for all these years and not take them out sooner.
No, and they've come a little too close to actually having 11 nuclear weapons, which is what they claim they have the material for. And you can't trust them. The North Koreans are more trustworthy than the Iranians when it comes to the possibility of using nuclear weapons.
I would agree with you on that, yeah.
Yeah, no, the North Koreans don't appear to be totally crazy.
Well, I think Rocket Man likes the attention, so, he's trying
Well,
to...
China keeps a lid on him. Nobody's keeping a lid on Iran.
No, and if you remember even going back further before Desert Storm, Desert Shield, the war on terror, they were in a 10, 12, 8-year war with Iraq. So they weakened Saddam's forces because they had the upper hand in that conflict, it looks like. But they've been a bully in the area.
No, but they lost a lot of men, too.
They lost a lot, but they've still been a sponsor. They've got the Houthis, they've got Hamas, they've got Hezbollah, they've got God knows who else is on the payroll.
So do you think there are going to be boots on the ground?
What I think is... Yeah, I think there already are. So I believe we already have the spooks there, which is the special forces. I believe you probably have Delta running around. You probably have SEAL Team 6. And from what I've been watching on other shows from people who know the military a lot better than I, we know the Mossad is there, probably the Shin Bet. From the Israelis, I'm sure other players in the area have their own people. They say the Saudis are on the ground with their intelligence.
Saudis are on the ground?
So they say.
I haven't heard that.
We don't know if it's true or not. But we know we are, the Israelis are, and I would say... that if the reports are half true, the Kurdish fighters are now coming over from Iraq.
The Kurdish fighters, we heard that they were coming over, and then it got withdrawn. And all of a sudden, I think I heard today that the Kurds will not be attacking. The Kurds are on the margins. They're at the borders. And for them to get all the way inland to Tehran would be difficult and unwieldy.
Unless they had air support.
Well, unless they had air
Logistics.
support. But the IRGC is in the way.
I like the Kurds on the ground because it's kind of like a militia, if you will, that we can assist and give some guidance to. We can use our satellites and help them, maybe pave the way for them, if you will. They are good fighters. They've been allies of ours, but we know that they're not allies and friends with everyone in the region, including the Turks, who will label them a terrorist organization. But we do know that they are allies to us because we had that no-fly zone in the northern part of Iraq for a long time.
No, they're clearly our allies. They've worked with
And
us
good fighters.
closely. Right. I feel bad that they can't have their own country because Turkey won't allow it.
You know what's interesting about the Kurds that I was just looking the other day? There's fragments of them in all these countries, Syria, Iran, Iraq, and it's not like they're...
And Turkey, those four.
And Turkey, and it's not like they're just in one area. So you've got
No,
all
it's
these
all
fragments.
one, like, if you carved out a country for them, it would be contiguous.
Yes.
And it would just come out of mostly Turkey, but a lot of these other countries too.
And they have no homeland of their own, so to speak. I mean, they have areas of different countries.
No, and
but
there are between 40 and 70 million of them. It's unclear. They deserve their own homeland.
I agree.
But that would be a forever war.
Unfortunately, probably right. Yeah, probably right about that. But are they going to go in or not? I don't know. But I think there's got to be some boots on the ground. Somebody's got to paint those
No,
targets.
I think there have to be boots on the ground too. And I think they're ultimately going to be ours. Certainly special forces. I don't know what more.
I would hope if it's going to be a conventional force that the neighbors in that area would, there's the Saudis are there, the Qataris are there. There's a lot of people there who could put boots on the ground, UAE. I would hope it would consist mainly,
You would hope it would not be us?
I would hope it wouldn't be us in terms of the actual boots on the ground. I would prefer that we're doing the hit and runs like the special forces, the black ops, if you will. And, in terms of peacekeeping, or I won't even say nation building, dare I say that, but in terms of peacekeeping, probably better if it would be, the Arab
Locals.
neighbors, the locals over there. And
Yeah.
I
I agree with you. Let's change topics for a minute.
Sure.
Last week, the president fired Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and replaced her with Mark Wayne Mullen, the senator from Oklahoma. She had done some good things. She closed the border and she deported a lot of illegal aliens. And she had done some bad things. She had an affair with her chief of staff, and she ran these $200 million worth of TV ads that featured her on horseback riding across the screen, being a hero. A little narcissistic. What do you think? Did he do the right thing?
And I remember those ads. She was on the border. She was, all over the place. I guess in South Dakota they ride horses a lot, right? I thought she was effective. Like I said, she did deport a lot of bad people. I mean, these weren't just people who came here to be migrant workers. They were child pedophiles, rapists, drug dealers. So I will give her credit for that. Maybe it got a little bit where she stuck herself in the limelight.
Milwaukee. She kind of screwed up in Milwaukee, where it worked against the administration at a time when we're worried about the midterms.
You know what? Look, maybe I don't want to blame her entirely for that, because it's a wild situation when we see that the lieutenant governor and those elected folks are part of these chats that they're doing, organizing people to follow ICE and harass them and stop.
Right.
You're going to put your life in danger to stop a pedophile, to stop a
No,
rapist.
no, that's right.
You're going to get killed, unfortunately.
It's clear that Milwaukee was organized against ICE.
Is it fair that she got the brunt of that? I honestly don't know. I like her personally. I'm not a fan of spending that kind of money if it was on her own personal vanity.
I have to say, I don't like her. I find her annoying. The vanity just drove me crazy because it was so inappropriate. The hair and the makeup and the narcissism. It just really drove me crazy. We are going to go to a public service announcement, and stick with us. We'll be right back, and we've got some other great topics coming up. Thank you. Welcome back. Usually we save Mayor Mondami for the last discussion on the show because we have to say our mean things about him, but there isn't always that much to say. But tonight we're going to talk about the mayor right now. He and his wife had a very big week. Late last week, journalists discovered that the mayor's 28-year-old wife, Rama Douaji, spent the days after Hamas's October 11th attack on Israel liking posts about Israeli women being murdered and raped. And especially she liked the raped ones. She displayed this deep love of Hamas and terrorism that is stunning. The mayor responded when his attention was called to this by noting that she was the love of his life and she's a private citizen, so she's entitled to her own views. And it's nobody's business. Of course, what you do on social media is not private. She's not 15, she's 28. And it's telling to be so adamantly for death and destruction. That is a little unsettling and it's kind of disgusting. So I would bet that those are Mondami's views too.
I guarantee it. I mean, he's a snake oil salesman. I consider him a terrorist sympathizer.
He's clearly an Islamist.
Clearly, he hasn't condoned those bombs. The other day.
And we'll get to that in a minute.
The other day with the cops, it was just a snowball fight, but we found out there were projectiles put inside those.
Right, ice and stones.
Ice or batteries or rocks or something.
Right.
So he's clearly gaslighting us. He has an agenda. He has his beliefs, and unfortunately, his wife has some sick beliefs. If you can root for people who are such savages, and would do that to anybody, Israelis or non-Israelis, if you would root for people to rape women, cut babies out of their stomach and put it in an oven, disgusting, horrible things that would equate to medieval times, maybe. I mean, disgusting things that no civilization should deal with.
Right.
So anyone who would support them, in my book, you know better than those people. You're an animal, and
So on Sunday, a far-right activist led a protest in Carcerts Park, which is what Gracie Mansion is surrounded by. There were 10 people and a goat.
Yes.
And this activist was opposed to Islam, which in America you have the right to be opposed to ideas or religions or other people's views or whatever, but you don't have the right to throw bombs. So 100 people came out to protest these 10 people, and then 2 young men showed up with IEDs that they had, they hurled them toward Gracie Mansion and toward the right-wing protesters. When they were arrested, they claimed that they had learned how to do this from ISIS propaganda. Yes. And that they supported ISIS entirely. They yelled Allahu Akbar when they were throwing the bombs. They seemed to be very, very devoted to this. Both of them were born in this country to parents who come from, in one case, Turkey, in the other case, Afghanistan. You kind of wonder how they got so radicalized and how they, and what we're doing that allows for this.
Honestly, I saw that one of them looks like they live in a $1.6 million mansion.
Yes.
Nice home.
And the other a $2.5 million.
$2.5 million, a little better, right?
Right.
I saw that they were both, one of them at least from Afghani descent. And like you said, you have to wonder, is it the parents? Probably. Social media, I'm sure, plays a large part. But I saw the reports that initially Mondami brushed it off. It was something. And he made a comment that the other folks were from out of state. Well, the 2 guys who threw the improvised IED, they're not residents of New York City or New York State, so they're all out of towners apparently.
No, he what did he say? He said
he was inspired by ICE.
He condemned, his first response was to condemn the 10 protesters as rooted in bigotry and racism, as opposed to talking about violence and throwing bombs, which is not something we've had a lot of experience with here in New York.
Look, it's I've noticed something with our friends on the left, and the more radical on the left they are, the more that they allow this and they're for this. I don't think there should be a place for political violence anywhere in New York City or America for that matter. But they seem to be okay with it when it's directed at one side, but if it's directed against them, they'll all, bang their bully pulpit and they'll speak out against it. So I think it could have been a lot worse if these two idiots were able to make bigger or more effective bombs.
More effective bombs would have been a
Could have killed or
problem.
maimed a lot of people. And we saw, that one video on especially the still shot on the post where the guy's holding it. You can see his face. You see him run away. You see the one cop jump that metal barricade, almost like he was in high school jumping through the track. And they got him. And it was supposed to be, they're going to be out. And then, no, now they're actually facing terrorism and hate charges.
Well, the feds had to come in and charge
Yes.
them because Alvin Bragg
Oh,
won't.
he's not going to do anything. Yeah, he'll give him condoms, a Mets ticket, and what do they give them when they get arrested? Condoms, a Mets ticket, and a sign of Democratic voting registration? Whatever they do.
Perfect.
Yeah, unfortunately, Alvin Bragg won again. He's soft on crime.
He's very soft on
He's
crime.
horrible. He's horrible. And we know that Manhattan and New York City as a whole are a lot more of a dangerous place because look at the revolving doors, it's not even justice, the revolving doors of who comes in and out of that courthouse. I mean, short of killing someone, he's going to let everybody go.
People have killed people and walked.
And then the poor guy in the bodega not too long ago who had to defend himself, he
Right.
arrested that poor guy, not the guy who tried to kill him and rob his store. So that's where their priorities are, on the wrong side.
And it's worse when Islam is part of the motivation on one side or the other, against or for. So Sunday night, after this bombing incident, the mayor and his wife had to dinner for iftar dinner after their long fast. Mahmoud Khalil and his wife and child. Mahmoud, as you recall, is a terrorist student. He's not a terrorist. He's a supporter of terrorists.
On a student visa.
On a student visa, that's right. An activist, has a green card. The Trump administration says the green card was gotten through irregularity and lies, and they have tried to deport him. Judges have gotten in the way.
Activist judges.
Activist judges.
Yep.
But this is who Mondami has for his religious break the fast.
Look, this is, this is where you have any religion and it's used to weaponize people to do violence, it's wrong. And unfortunately, the folks that Mondami and the First Lady, she says she's a private citizen, she's a First Lady and there's nothing private, right? The people that they've appointed to their administration are a lot of de Blasio holdovers, they're Democrat socialists, they are terrorist sympathizers, they're un-American. Mondami's own mother said he's not American.
But she said that, that's right.
His own mom said he's not an American.
And she said that with great pride.
With pride. So these are people who, and remember, we have that one video online where he's got the red mask over his face, stating what his purpose is, and he sounds more like someone who's on I would say, some kind of religious mission, if you will, not a political mission.
No, it's very political. I think Islam, as we know it, is much more a political mandate than it is a religion per se. I mean,
it's look, it's unfortunate, like I said, when any religion would use, motivate people to commit violence, and unfortunately, in modern times, we see that. But regardless, whatever your religion is, especially if you're the mayor of the largest city, New York, and you're surrounding yourselves with those people and sympathizing for terror groups, it's unacceptable and very disgusting.
yeah, it is disgusting, and it's a real problem because I thought when he was elected that we'd have to deal with all of the socialist policy, and it would be a disaster. It would either fail to get through, or it would get through and fail. And
So far, it failed because he has no money.
right. Well, that's a good way to fail, because we don't have to go through the nonsense. But I think what we're really seeing is that this is much more about his personal pro-Islamic views, which that is different than somebody who has a religion that they practice in private, the way most Americans practice their religion. Practicing your religion as politics, as the culture, it becomes the culture of the city. And that I find very disturbing.
Well, remember, there should be a separation between church and state, which
Mosque and
is
state.
mosque and state, or, whatever it is, and state, synagogue and state, religion and state should
Right.
be separate. So that should apply to anyone's, religion. Obviously, we're seeing he is trying to cross that line, if you will. And it's unfortunate. They go amongst themselves saying that they're inclusive, they're going to be transparent when he ran the campaign. But if you look, I just don't trust anyone that's a socialist or a communist, but then you have that smirk and you see all the psychologists and the CIA people and the FBI people who study body language, they're all saying that smirk, he's just basically saying, ha ha, you idiots, I'm fooling you.
Right.
Which, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of people now who have buyer's remorse where they're like, where's the free buses? We're seeing a lot of people, they're still waiting on the corner, where's the free bus?
Well, I
it's
think
not
they're
coming.
helping themselves to free buses. I hear lots of people talk about how people just don't pay the fare.
Well, most people don't, and we see the subway, even when they have cops standing there,
Right, they
or security,
go right
they're
through.
just walking right through, and they're opening the door for everybody else to go through. So, you know.
Right.
And
I've never had the nerve to do that. It's not something I would do, but even if I wanted to do it, I'd be afraid to do it.
yeah, well, I mean, listen, when there's no enforcement, you know, no,
Right.
and you've neutered the police department, you know, there's little repercussion of fear for the people who are doing that, and worse, unfortunately.
So on a different topic, the president has been making a big effort to push the Save America Act. This act is the most basic common sense of any act I've ever heard of in my life. It does 5 things. It requires serious voter ID to vote, which 90% of Americans support. It requires proof of American citizenship to register to vote. It forbids universal mail-in ballots, saving them only for people who need them. It bans men from competing in women's sports, and it bans transgender mutilation for minors.
I like them all.
90, this is an 80-20 issue. Like, there just aren't that many people who don't support all of this stuff. Why isn't it passing?
Well, look, here's my problem that I have with that. So even if I know the staff at my daughter's public school, or my wife and my mom comes, or we come to do a pop lesson or something, what's the first thing they ask for? You have your ID. You have to show it to, even if they know you have to
Right.
show it or pre-sign in online. We scan the code. If I miss a package from the post office, even if they know me, can I have your ID, please? So for a little thing, and remember, to make one point, he was hiring these snow shovelers. They needed 3 pieces of
Right,
ID,
right.
5 this and this. So, but to vote, you don't want it. So, and you said it's overwhelming across the board, party, whatever type of person you are, most people in this country want it. So if you're not stealing elections, if you're not cheating, if you have nothing to hide, if it's a level playing field, what are you against? And we can't, listen, Kathy Hochul said.
So wait, yes or no? You think it's going to pass?
I pray to God it does.
I share your view. I pray to God it does too. I think it's not going to pass because I think somehow they're going to be the Democrats are going to have too much power. And that, there's so much more to say. But that is a wrap for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, and please come back next week. With politics and Donald J. Trump and the mayor's race dominating conversations these days, we'd like to invite you to join us here in the back room where conversations get real.
We're going to meet candidates and, of course, have some big debates about what's happening around the world, in our country, and in our city. So join us in the back room.